This brings us to our final keynote speaker for the Connections Conference for 2025, and that is David Wood. He is the founder of Integrated Training. Now, with over 20 years' experience as an intensive care paramedic and ocean lifeguard, Dave will share practical tools for staying resilient in high-pressure moments. His session is a timely reminder that resilience is a skill we can all build at any age or stage. Now, Dave was going to be joining us in person this afternoon, but unfortunately he had some mechanical issues with his aeroplane, so he's not here. He will be joining us via Zoom from Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. There he is, the wonderful man himself. Can you please make him welcome, Dave Wood?
G'day everyone. It has been a very interesting day. So this morning I found myself at the airport, flight got cancelled, and I couldn't get on the next flight because it wasn't coming until 2 o'clock. So I'm now standing in a room, staring at a computer of my presentation, so I can't see you. I wish I was there. First of all, thanks to Bob. Bob's the guy up the back who's in he's the tech guy. He is very calm under pressure, so thank you, Bob. I'm going to take you through a presentation in sustainable peak performance and remaining calm under pressure. But this presentation is really about stress control, and everyone needs this stuff. I'm going to give you some really actionable tools to remain calm under pressure, clear, focused, and be able to execute when it matters. This is my business here, Integrated Training. The training is simple. Running a business for me doesn't come naturally, and over the last year I've found it incredibly challenging, and through that process I've really leaned on some of the practical tools that I'm going to teach you today, which is really about shifting you into a deep calm state. And that's kind of the essence of performance, being able to shift from the red to the blue, stress to calm. I'm going to take you through a story about my journey. It's a really colourful story. I'm then going to take you through the human stress response. We all need to know this stuff. When you have a visual representation of what's happening in your body when you're under the pump, it gives you much better response flexibility. I'm then going to take you through some active recovery knowledge and skills, and then a practical exercise to shift you into a deeply calm state that we're going to program into your calendar, and I'm going to challenge you to do it every day. And lastly, I'm going to give you a call to action, because, you know, this is just a presentation, but if we can get you to go away and to integrate some of this stuff into your busy day, that's where the real impact comes in. So this was my job. For 13 years, I worked as an intensive care paramedic in Auckland City. Nowadays, that's like taking the resus room from the hospital out into the pre-hospital environment. So whatever you can conjure up in your head is what I saw in the pre-hospital setting. And that job required that you make clinical decisions under pressure. You have to have good peripheral awareness of what's going on. And these are often very emotive jobs. In this particular job here, this was a young fella out in West Auckland. That's a wine auger. So you can see the auger there that churns the grapes up. And at the end of the day, he jumped in there to clean the auger out, and he's got the hose standing with his feet on the two big aluminium sheets. And as the auger's going around, he slipped and it pulled his arm in and degloved his arm. So that's me in there. You can see the tourniquet on his arm. A degloved arm is basically where you take all the muscle, fat, ligament, tendon, and basically deglove it off the bone. And so my job is to get there, make clinical decisions about what we do on scene versus what we do off scene. I had to often run a team of people. So again, you have to have good peripheral awareness of what's going on. And a lot of these jobs are what we call pre-hospital jobs. So if you don't initiate the right care, they don't get to hospital. And what I noticed going through my career as an intensive care paramedic is that I had a couple of jobs go bad. And this really affected my confidence. And how this played out for me is I worked on a first response jeep. So the job would come down the MDT and you would know straight away if it was a high acuity job. And I could, on the way to these jobs, I started to feel my heart racing. I could feel the pressure. My hands would go all clammy, and I'd get to the job, and I got tunnel vision. And having tunnel vision on these jobs is not good, obviously, because you have to make these clinical decisions. And so it was a real aha moment for me. And I sort of realized in that moment that I didn't actually have the skills of stress. So no one taught this stuff to me at school, how to regulate my physical and mental state under pressure. 4 years at university, I studied a degree in health science. Not once, again, did they talk about how to regulate your physical and mental state, how to control stress, how to improve focus. So this started a real deep dive for me into understanding, just how to regulate my physical and mental state. And, going into this stuff, I became really passionate about it. And I started applying the things that I learned into my job as an intensive care paramedic, and it worked. I've now taken those skills these are totally transferable skills into what I do now. I am now a human performance specialist. You know who gave me that name? Me. I'm in business, I can call myself whatever I like. But actually, my genius zone is understanding where people have come from, where they're at, and where they're going. Understanding human behavior and being able to get on the same level as people. Because there's a lot smarter people in this, mental skill development and stress control than myself. But my real gift is being able to connect with people. And so I work with athletes right across the board, from UFC fighters to tennis, football, rugby, league. And I also work with corporate groups, CEOs, leaders, professionals. And I work with the guy down the road who's just dealing with stress and pressure. Overcoming challenges is everything about determination, going towards the fear, pressure, apprehension, tension. It's all about working together cohesively. And so it's a big part of the workshop is putting these teams in challenging environments and then getting them to use the skills that they've acquired over the workshop to be able to work with that agitation. Ahako, ko ngā roti hui I te Aotearoa, ko ana kupu aku ko ngā hui iho, whakarungo ki te hui I tangi nei, hui, hui, huia.
Personally, it was about pushing myself. I think on top of that, doing it with all of you. I'm pretty lucky that we've got people here from Team New Zealand, the CLGP team, and from Live Ocean Racing. They're really looking forward to not only my own growth for the weekend, but seeing everyone else grow as well. Teamwork is all about communication, cohesion, and on these workshops, it allows the team to dig a little bit deeper and to see where other people's strengths and weaknesses are, and allow everyone to be able to work on that in a really supportive environment. Determination, going towards the fear, pressure, apprehension, tension. It's all about working together cohesively. And so it's a big part of the workshop is putting these teams in challenging environments and then getting them to use the skills overcoming challenges over the workshop to be able to work with that agitation.
Ahako, ko ngā roti hui I te Aotearoa, ko ana kupu aku ko ngā hui iho, whakarungo ki te hui I tangi nei, hui, hui, huia. There's a little technical issue here. I can still hear the DJ playing ball.
Pushing myself.
Pressure, apprehension, tension. It's all about working together. Overcoming. Just skip it to the next slide, cheers, Bob. Challenges is everything about determination.
Yeah, Dave, I don't have control of your screen.
There we go. So yeah, it's just a little video of the training that I do here in New Zealand with that was Team New Zealand. And at the end of this presentation, one of the call sections, I'm going to show you a video of our Calm Under Pressure workshop, which is available to everybody. But I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about my journey. My journey's been a really colourful journey. I grew up at Piha Beach, surrounded by a close-knit group of mates. And our challenge growing up was the surf. It was this constant peer pressure, I'd say almost bullying, to go out in the big surf. And I was petrified of the ocean growing up. But it was that repeat, just, that pushing and that repeated exposure over time, it became comfortable. And I was so fortunate growing up out at Piha. There's just a wild energy out there from the Waitakere Ranges, the Black Iron Sand and the Tasman Sea. And, growing up out there, I could never understand how anyone had any type of mental health problem. Anxiety, depression, just wasn't on my radar. But at the age of 17, 18, I had something happen to me that I didn't have the skills to deal with. And my way of dealing with it was to run away. And so I went overseas, and this is a picture here. This first picture on the left is a picture of me in Varanasi. And my travel was all about challenging myself. My old man was he used to tell me stories growing up about his travels, and he travelled on a shoestring, and it was all about challenge. And so listening to those stories as a kid, I really wanted to put myself out there and challenge myself. And then the other picture there is a picture of my motorbike that I took through South America, from Venezuela through Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, down through Chile, Argentina, back up through Uruguay and into Brazil. And, overseas it was, whilst I was running, I'm pushing a lot of that stuff back that I didn't know how to deal with. I still had an incredible time. I worked as a professional ocean lifeguard in Cornwall, travelled to Indonesia and Malaysia, teaching windsailing and surfing, and just had an incredible time. But my journey hasn't always been so rosy. And this is a picture of my left hip. And it's not a very good x-ray, but you can see at the top there's joint space. What this is showing is the head of the femur sitting in the acetabulum. You can see there's a lot of joint space at the outside edge, but as you follow it around, it's bone on bone. And that developed for me at about the age of 24 as just muscle tightness and stiffness in my hips. And, it got to a point where it was starting to inhibit the things that I really enjoyed doing, surfing and playing tennis and just being active. And so I went to the hip specialist, and he said I need to have this really invasive hip surgery where they dislocate the hip joint, they reshape the head of the femur, they reattach the acetabulum, they shave off the dead cartilage. And I was told after that surgery to stay out of the water for a year. At about the 6-month mark, beautiful sunny day, grabbed my girlfriend's longboard, and I thought I'll just get one wave. I went out and my back foot came off the board on this small wave. My front foot stayed on the board. I did the splits, and I tore the anchors off the surgery, reopened the hip capsule, and I had to go in for a subsequent surgery. After that surgery, I developed chronic pain. And chronic pain has been the most challenging thing I've ever had to deal with in my life. And at my lowest point, I call it the feedback loop from hell. So I was going from one specialist to the next, trying to find someone to solve the problem. And I saw all of the best people in New Zealand, the muscular therapists for the All Blacks, the acupuncturists for the New Zealand cricket team. And every time I went to one of these people, I was like, fuck, yeah, this is the thing. And I did that for about 4 to 5 years. And at my real lowest point, I'd stopped surfing, I'd stopped socialising. I was told by a specialist that imagine you're on a bike and you're going down a narrow path. If you go too far to the right, you'll fall down, and if you go too far to the left, you'll fall down. I went away from that and I sat in my car and I asked myself, what does that mean? And for me, it meant this. I had to protect myself. I had to protect my hips. So yeah, I stopped surfing, stopped doing the things that I was really passionate about. And at my real lowest point, I started having really troubling thoughts. They were thoughts like, I can't do this anymore. One morning about 3 o'clock, I woke up, went into the toilet, and at this point, I was still working in the ambulance. I couldn't sleep, had insomnia. I was dealing with this chronic inflammation. I was mentally very agitated from it. And I got to the toilet and I sat down on the ground and I started crying. So just sitting there wallowing in my own misery. But it was at that point I made a really clear and definitive decision. And that decision was I was going to stop relying on other people, and I was going to take the ownership on myself. And, you know, we need these people. These are great people. We need the specialists. We need the doctors, but not at the expense of taking radical ownership of your physical and mental health. And this is one of the key themes I want to get across in this presentation. Radical ownership for me means investing into my physical and mental well-being. It means doing my strength training every day, my meditation. It means investing in this thing here, my mindset. Radical ownership to me means I'm responsible for everything. It doesn't matter if it lands on my lap, because I have an option in how I respond. It's my responsibility. And I'm going to be doing that, surfing, when I'm 80 years old. And that means I have to invest in this thing now, every day. And what I saw on the ambulance service that really jolted me into action was people stuck in their bodies for the last 20 to 30 years of their lives because they hadn't invested in the thing. And the thing is, this is what has to get you through the fire. When you go through the hard times, this is the vehicle that gets you through it. And where people get really lost is when they go through the fire and they look back on this thing and it's not equipped physically and mentally. So for me, radical ownership is about doing the work. This is my Ford Escort panel van that I bought in Cornwall. It was like a transformer. It was owned by a quadriplegic, and it had hydraulics. So you rock up into the car park, the back would go down. We stored all the surfboards underneath the false floor. At night time, the front seats went down. We put everything from the back into the front, and I loved that van. And I knew everything about that van, and I looked after that van. Nothing ever went wrong with that van until we got to the Moroccan border. And if you look in the Lonely Planet, it says, you know, when you get to the Moroccan border, don't stop, because you've got all the contraband coming from Morocco into Europe, so it's quite a dangerous place. And we could see the Moroccan border, and the petrol tank fell out. We drove over the petrol tank, and we spent 3 days and nights in a dodgy little Spanish car called Suta. So that was one hell of an experience. But I want you to imagine if you had one car to last a lifetime, how much you'd look after that car. And the thing is, that's your body. You only have one to last a lifetime. I want you all to stand up. I can't see you, but I want you to all stand up and have a stretch. Stand up, stretch out. And have a seat. Sitting back down. Now, this is a really important part of the presentation. I'm really passionate about this stuff. I think that everyone should have this visual representation of what stress is. And stress gets a really negative rap. If you think, you know, you go Google stress, it's all bad, right? What I want to do with this part of the presentation is shift your perspective around stress and pressure. Now, there's 2 parts of your nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The All Blacks call the sympathetic the red and the parasympathetic the blue. So we're going to be referring to this as the red and the blue. The sympathetic is the upregulated part of your nervous system. The prime hormone here is adrenaline. It's called your fight or flight response. It increases heart rate, increases blood pressure, dilates your pupils, shunts blood from your core out to your peripheries, to the large muscles, and gets you ready for battle. That's the part of your nervous system that you're in your busy day. You've got to get in the car, sit in the traffic, get to work. You've got deadlines. You've got all of the stuff coming at you in your day, and it's easy to spend your day in the red or to get stuck in the red. And the other side of this nervous system is the blue, the parasympathetic. And that's where you shift into that calming, that's your calming part of your nervous system, what they call the rest and digest part of your nervous system. And how the system works is if the red is on, the blue is off. And if the blue is on, the red is off. And the essence of performance is being able to shift from the red to the blue or the blue to the red on demand. The biggest problem we're seeing nowadays is sympathetic dominance. So when you spend all your time in the sympathetic without balancing that out with the blue, that results in chronic stress. Because the sympathetic, the red part, is your body's stress response. So when I talk about stress, don't think of high-level stress. Just think of the busyness of your day, the work-life balance, the deadlines, the waiting in the coffee line to get to the front, the chemical load of the food, the mental stress, the physical stress, the psychosocial stress. Stress is everywhere. And so it's easy nowadays to get stuck in that red part of your nervous system, and we call that linearity. And there's a real long-term cost associated with spending too much time in the red. And in this slide here, these are some of the hallmarks of chronic stress or sympathetic, the red part of your nervous system overload. I just want you to go through and see if any of these apply to you. And with my clients, I'll often say to them, are you chronically stressed? And they'll say no. And then I show them the slide and they look through it and they go, holy shit, I've ticked every one. And so I've highlighted one there, difficulty falling or staying asleep. And that is really the hallmark of chronic stress. When you can't get to sleep or you wake up and your mind's going like this and you can't get back to sleep. So again, these are the hallmarks of living or spending too much time in the red and not getting the balance right between the red and the blue. And if you think back in the day, we needed that red part of the nervous system to go hunting, and the hunt would often last 6 hours. And that required a lot of energy. And then they brought the food back to the village, close social interaction. You knew everyone's names, and you'd eat the food together. Of course, they had stress back then. They just didn't have the same amount of stresses coming at them. And if you think about nowadays, we're multitasking, and then we do find a quiet place in our day. We fill it with more stimulus. Why is that? Think about, when you're a kid and you get bored. What did you do when you were a kid and you got bored? You'd allow your mind to wander, and it would wander off onto an idea, and you'd bring that idea in and you'd articulate it with your creative brain, and you'd come up with a game, right? Nowadays, we don't allow ourselves to be bored because we are addicted to stress. So when you're living in that red part of the nervous system, adrenaline is addictive. And so when we do find that quiet place, we often reach for more stimulus. Sounds all bad, eh? Well, it's not, because I'm going to show you a very simple solution to all of this. Because the core problem is not stress. In fact, stress is the stimulus for growth. You think about getting big biceps, you'd go to the gym, you'd do bicep curls for a couple of months, and your muscle would grow. But only if you allow time for recovery. And so the problem is not stress. Most stress is by and large unavoidable. There's some stresses we could get rid of, but by and large, that's just our lives, right? It's busy. The core problem is the absence of disciplined, intermittent recovery in your busy day. And so now this is really getting to the crux of the presentation, where we're going to dive into the power of recovery and the effect that has in balancing your nervous system, improving focus, improving sleep, improving your... Because if you think about it, what is most important is being able to leave your busy day and go back into your family life, and to be present and to be focused with your kids and family. And it's hard to do that when you're living all the time in the red. So stress plus recovery equals growth. Stress alone breaks the body down. So we just need to integrate recovery into the day. Stress and recovery is a key for sustainable growth. And active recovery is just these really powerful habits and rituals that shift you into the calming division of your autonomic nervous system into the blue. You already have them. In this presentation, what I want to bring is more awareness to it and program it into your calendar. So the real strength, the best performers in the world are the ones that get this balance right between stress and recovery, and they have habits and rituals that they integrate into their day that shift them back into a calm, focused, relaxed state. So on this slide here, these are my active recovery rituals. Now you're going to look at them and just think, well, it's pretty simple. So meditation and breath work, my most strength and mobility work. Every night from 9 to 10, I do 1 hour of mobility work. I go into my gym, put my earphones on, listen to a podcast, and that for me shifts me into a deep, calm state. But I've had my mobility taken away from me, and I'll never let that happen again. But mobility work and strength training are really powerful forms of active recovery. For me, sauna and ice bath, the contrast therapy going from the heat into the cold and back in again, I can get to the end of the day and feel like I've got no energy, and I just do these simple sauna or ice bath, and I come away from it feeling like a new human being. And nature is a big one. Reconnecting with nature in a deep and meaningful way is one of the most powerful ways to balance your nervous system. When you are in nature, open space, it activates the blue parasympathetic division of your autonomic nervous system. So these are really simple active recovery rituals that I integrate into my day. And at the end of this presentation, the call to action is going to be this breath work that I'm going to take you through shortly, 2 lots of 5 minutes a day. So research is really clear around this. 20 minutes in nature significantly reduces cortisol, adrenaline cortisol, the prime hormones of the sympathetic nervous system. Short exposure lowers stress fast. So these are really performance strategies. And I know, like, I've got a client and he said to me, hey, it's all good for you, Dave. You live out at Piha and you've got the beach and the bush right there. He said, I work in the bottom, he works in the bottom of Queen Street. And I said to him, I was like, look, man, you've got to get into your creative mind. You're right by the ocean. And so now at lunchtime, he goes down, walks down the pier, sits down the end of the pier and does his meditation. And so this stuff is actually accessible to everyone. And so here's the key. We want to use recovery as a performance strategy. And what I found going through this process of trying to balance my own nervous system and improve my sleep and focus and all the good stuff was that if I didn't program it into my calendar, it did not happen. So in my calendar and my clients' calendars, all the busy stuff, all the work, all the meetings is in red, and then we put the active recovery in blue. And the thing with this is that you just put it in the same time every day and you just play Tetris with this. So you wake up in the morning, right, I've got a meeting there, I'll bring that meditation to here, or my strength training to here, or my mobility work to here, and you just move it around. But if it's not in the calendar, it does not happen. So now I'm going to take you through a really powerful recovery practice. Exciting, eh? What is the one practice that all of the best performers in the world have in common? I mean, the goats of every sport. The one practice they have in common.
Cool enough to overturn it, but like LeBron meditating there on the bench.
He's in that calm now.
Yeah.
that he advertises.
Is there a 1 minute to go in a 3-point game meditation that he can do? Probably.
I think he's going to take the free throws.
Full enough to.
It's meditation, and there's a study on mindfulness. Dr. Sela Azar is a brain guru, and she took people that had never meditated before through an 8-week mindfulness program, just 30 minutes a day. So bugger all, 30 minutes is nothing. And this next slide should blow your mind. So 8 weeks, 30 minutes of mindfulness meditation a day. They did 3D imaging of the brain, and this is what they found, that the brain volume increased in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for learning, emotional regulation, which is one of the most important mental skills, focus and self-awareness. And the one part of the brain that shrunk in actual size was the amygdala, the fight or flight center of your brain. So that just blows my mind, the power of meditation. And I'm going to take you through a meditation. And the whole idea is to program it into your calendar. But the cool thing is that it doesn't need to be 30 minutes a day. So the latest research shows that just 5 minutes of meditation every day can have the same effects. And if you think about that, it's just 5 minutes a day. But what you learn in that practice about the condition of your body and your mind, your ability to shift into the blue, which is a skill, the self-awareness, the emotional regulation that brings that practice, you then apply that into every other part of your day where you need more self-control. So for this exercise, the key with this exercise is that it does not work unless you believe in it. The effect of anything is a combination of what you're doing plus what you think about what you're doing. I'll say that one more time. The effect of anything is a combination of what you're doing plus what you think about what you're doing. So mindset matters. So when I do this 5-minute breathing flow, I tell myself, this is flushing stress hormones out of my body. This is shifting me into the blue. This is amazing for my focus, for my energy, for my sleep. And that amplifies the effect of the practice. And by the way, again, everyone is going to get this 5-minute breathing flow, plus some of the other active recovery protocols. So I want you to get comfortable. Normally, you can't do this, obviously, probably where you are, but I like to lie down, put my feet up on the wall. You can lie down, put your feet up on the seat, but just get comfy. Now, this guided meditation, the powerful thing about this is that when you slow your breathing rate down and you prolong the exhale, what we know based on our biology, based on research, based on science, is that activates the calming division of your nervous system, more blue tone. So just by slowing your breathing rate down and prolonging the exhale, you activate the parasympathetic division of your autonomic nervous system, shifting you into a calm state. All right, so we're going to start this 5-minute breathing meditation. I challenge you to buy into this practice, and you will not know the unquantifiable effects that this will have on you until you do this every day for the next 4 weeks. That's my challenge to you. All right, here we go.
Welcome, this is your 5-minute guided breathing flow designed to create calm, increase energy, improve focus, and help you get the balance right between stress and recovery. Lie down, sit down, find a quiet place, get relaxed. Let's start by doing a body scan. Find where you're holding tension and let it go. In between your eyes, your jaw, chest, and shoulders. Move all the way down through your body and relax every single muscle. For the next 5 minutes, nothing else matters apart from this practice. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Take your time, fill up space. 3, 2. Exhale. 6, 4, 2. Drop it out. Inhale. Everything flows from the inhale to the exhale. Exhale. When you exhale, the last part of the exhale, drop it out, melt into the ground. 3, 2, inhale. Exhale, body scan, find where you're holding tension, let it go. Inhale. Exhale. You're calm, you're centered, you're focused. Inhale. Exhale. Exhale is all about getting calm. Drop it out, melt into the ground. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Fill up space. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale, drop it out, breathing normally. In 5 seconds, we go into the next part of the breathing flow. We're going to add a hold at the top of the inhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, fill up space. Hold your breath, relax your body. Body scan, find where you're holding tension, let it go. Exhale, 8, 6, 4, drop it out, melt into the ground. Inhale. Everything's flowing, you're calm, you're centered. Hold, you're focused. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. 4, 2, drop it out. Inhale. Hold. Relax every single muscle. Exhale. In. Hold. Out. In. exhale. Inhale. And drop it out. Well done, you've completed the 5-minute breathing flow. Use this as a daily active recovery ritual to help balance and strengthen your nervous system, improve self-awareness, self-regulation. Welcome.
So, well, I can't see anyone. What I'm hoping is that there's a bunch of really calm people. So for some of you, it would have been really easy to shift into a deep, calm state, and for others, there may have been a little bit of a kickback there. When you often, if you've been switched on for a long time and you go and shift into a calm state, it can be difficult. But with practice and doing this 5-minute breathing flow twice a day for the next 4 weeks, you'll notice a profound difference in your day in terms of energy, focus, productivity, mental clarity. So here's the QR code. If you want to take a picture of that, you can get started straight away. Like I said before, I'm going to send you a bunch of other active recovery protocols to integrate into your calendar, as well as the 5-minute breathing flow. So now what I'm imagining is that everyone's got their cameras out and they're clicking pictures. So I'll just give that another few seconds. And so this is just wrapping this presentation up. This is a picture of Cristiano Ronaldo, 5 minutes left of the game, and he's been called up to kick the winning goal. Does he need to be in the red or the blue? And the answer is he needs to be in the red. He's got to run up as fast as he can and boot that ball. But in reality, what he really needs is to be able to have some control of that spectrum of where he is on high sympathetic tone and be able to grab the dimmer switch and dim it back a little bit towards the blue. And again, that is the very essence of performance. And so what he does in this video is he controls his breathing. Inhale, long exhale. He does a body scan, finds where he's holding tension, he lets it go. And then he visualizes the ball, pitches the ball going through the goalpost. These are simple mental skills. The same mental skills that you learn through practices like the 5-minute breathing flow, body scan, relax your body, control of your breath. These are all things that are sending very clear signals through to your brain that you are alert, calm, and focused, which is the ultimate performance state. And so the point of this is that, we all want to be calm under pressure, but you actually have to train for it. And so to be able to bring that level of calm and control that you experience during the 5-minute breathing flow into dynamic situations, when you're getting up to talk in front of a bunch of people, you're about to execute something, you have to practice. And so it's really about bringing the learning from that into these dynamic situations where you need better response flexibility. And it can be simple as just taking a step back and taking a couple of breathing cycles. And so the key takeaways for this presentation, what I really want people to go away with is just a bit more curiosity and to really understand that this is the most important thing that you can invest in ahead of everything else. And one of my values is selfish. I put my physical and mental health ahead of everybody else, including my family. And it just so happens when you do that, you're actually more geared up to help other people. And life is all about helping other people, but you've got to help yourself first. Put yourself first, your own physical and mental health. Second thing is stress isn't the problem. Stress is the stimulus for growth. The problem is the absence of disciplined, intermittent recovery into your day. And it doesn't have to be fancy. It's just these simple things that you put into your calendar that you do throughout the day that educate the dexterity of your nervous system, your ability to shift from the red to the blue. And it's just doing these simple practices that over time balance your nervous system, give you better stress tolerance and stress control. Recovery is a tactical performance strategy. again, it has to be put into your calendar. And, you know, calmness of mind, it's something you've got to train for. We all want calmness of mind. My call to action for you guys is to build these recovery rituals and schedule them. I've probably been harping on that quite a few times now, but hopefully it's, yeah, I think that, you know, we all need this stuff. It's a no-brainer. And yeah, 2 lots of the 5-minute breathing flow every day. And I'm going to send you a 21-minute breathing flow, a deeper reset. And I challenge you to do that once to twice a week. I'm going to finish. You know, I'm really passionate about this work, and I got really frustrated working in the ambulance service with just how we're dealing with mental health in New Zealand. So you can either complain about it or do something about it. So I've come up with this Calm Under Pressure workshop. This is a 2-day transformative workshop that dives deep into mental skill development and learning again more about the condition of your body and mind, self-awareness, mindset, stress control, and stress tolerance.
Want to stay calm, focused, and in control when it matters most, whether you're on the field, at work, or navigating the demands of daily life. Your ability to handle pressure is what sets you apart. Our Calm Under Pressure workshop gives you the leading edge in mental resilience. This is the same training methods we use with elite athletes to train stress control and perform when it counts. Over 2 immersive days, you'll learn how to control stress and increase your stress tolerance, boost endurance, strength, and mental focus. Use your breath to calm your mind and speed up recovery. Build key mental skills that enhance performance and health. This is not a lecture. It's physical, it's mental, it's practical. You'll walk away with the tools you can use straight away to sharpen self-awareness, train calmness of mind, and regulate yourself under pressure. If you're looking for a transformative experience to elevate your health, mindset, and performance, then this workshop is for you. Limited spaces are available. Reserve your spot now. Want to stay?
And there's the QR code, but again, I'll be sending this out with all of the programming. That's the QR code for the Calm Under Pressure workshop. We've got 2 more events this year. And I'd love to see some of you there in person. And lastly, these are, if you want to get hold of me, we also do one-on-one training and group corporate training. There's lots of options there. I haven't been able to see myself, so hopefully I've been in screen the whole time. But yeah, just thank you for your time, energy, and focus. And the girls here at the office are legends, Kylie and Debbie. I'm terrible with technology, so they got all this going, and I'll Rob down the back there. You bloody legends, mate. Thank you.
Dave, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, so it's Raylene Castle. It's nice to meet you. A shame you couldn't be in the room with us, but greatly appreciate you just like rolling with it and ending up at the Sport New Zealand offices and coming into us via video. But really great way to finish 2 days of, for us, has been lots of thinking, lots of challenge, lots of thinking differently about the generations, and now you've given us some really practical individual tools to take away. So thank you very much, and we greatly appreciate you dialing in and just running with it. Thank you.
Cheers, Raylene. Thank you very much.
Kia ora tātou. It's, as I said, it has been 2 fairly full-on days, as these conferences are. I suspect there's some people in the room whose heads are a little sorer than others. There was a few people making the most of the connection opportunity last night, which is always really great to see. And I get a chance to make the closing comments. And one of the things my personal pet hates is when someone stands up and then tells you, spends 15 minutes telling you all the things that you've already heard. I'm like, I was here, I heard. I didn't need to sit and get Raylene's version of it. And I think also the panel that we attempted before Dave was really a way of trying to capture different people's perspectives of what they heard. So I'll leave that commentary to the people that shared it from their perspectives. From Sport New Zealand's perspective, thank you for joining in for the 2 days. It is a really different and interesting topic that we chose, I think. And I think there's been lots of learnings for all of us. I think for me, my takeaways are that there's no doubt everywhere we look there's change happening, and as leaders in the sector, we need to think really hard about that on a daily basis. It isn't kind of a really safe, normal place for us to deal on a daily basis. And the Gen Zs will keep us really honest around that, which is really the group that we face the most check and challenge from, really. But if we actually have really good practices inside our businesses, drive good culture, make sure we do really good inductions, and set some expectations of what it is to work in this organisation with the culture, but that's also the open-mindedness to listen, to learn, to grow, to think about the voices that we're ultimately representing. That's in my mind, that's what good looks like. I think one of the challenges is we probably didn't quite get the voice that we actually really target. We probably had so the really diverse and local communities, we certainly did in the awards last night, and the people that we celebrated that are talking and dealing with those communities every day. It probably, in hindsight, would have been nicer to have some more of that sort of on-the-ground, community-based rangatahi and tamariki that we're dealing with on a daily basis talk to us to really go deeper into the challenges that they're facing. And that, for me, was certainly a takeout. It is different for us that go to a job every day, that work and live in safe environments. We live a very different life to many of the young people that we're dealing with on any given day. And what we also know, and what our awards proved last night, is that when we get it right, we very quickly can make an enormous difference. And I think that's, I thought the awards last night actually was probably the best awards that we've had. I thought the combination of the awards, the tone, the speeches, I don't know what it was exactly, the wairoa in the room was just really nailed it. And, to be part of that sector and see those amazing people be celebrated is something, really special on an annual basis to be able to do that. So to all the nominees and all the winners last night, once again, a big congratulations. Because it is important that we take that moment to celebrate. Just want to finish with one more thing, and I started with it and I want to finish with it, and that's a thank you. Sport New Zealand has a strategy. That strategy is as useless as the piece of paper it's written on without all you guys in the room. You guys are driving the change that strategy is intended to make. So for the relationship, for the check-in challenge, for the inspiration, for the support, for the fun, the laughter, and the camaraderie, thank you very much, because that's actually what makes it fun for us to come to work every day. We do make a difference. We're wholly positive in this sector about the outcomes that we can influence, and the government is looking at that. The government is looking more and more. We are becoming a normal part of the conversation in how they look to fix health outcomes, corrections outcomes, policing outcomes with the use of physical activity. And that's a really material shift from where we were, a dozen years ago, 6 years ago. And that's because it's top down and it's also bottom up, because MPs are seeing it in their own communities. So thank you very much. Please travel safe. We really appreciate all that you do, and I've really enjoyed catching up with everyone over the last couple of days. Kia ora. And just one final thank you. The person that holds all this together is Jenny May. And she always does that. She goes, "Oh, don't thank me," like she always does. I've known Jenny May for a very long time, and her ability to play continuity and make sure that this flows really well, but actually asks the really important questions and check-in challenge is really important. So we've just got a small gift for Jenny May, so we just a round of applause. Thanks very much.
Yeah, anyway, thank you, Raylene. It's always with humility that I stand on the stage at the end of the conference and say thank you, even though you had no choice in it, for having me over the last couple of days. It really does, I say this at the beginning, it feels like home. And it's my way, once a year, to be able to connect back in with a sector that means so much to me. I hope that over the last couple of days, the sessions that you sat in for, you were able to take some or a lot of what you heard and be able to take that back to your own organisation, but more importantly, to your communities. So on that note, before I bring Kelly up, hara mai bro, to do the karakia and waiata, just for those of you who are catching the coach to the airport, that is going to be across the road, just at the car park outside Te Papa. That's there at 3:15, I think it is. But to close our conference off, Kelly is going to take us through our karakia and our waiata. Tēnā koe.
Tēnei wā, he koe no tēnei he peka, te kika te ati awa, e mihi ana kia koutou katoa I tau mai nei ngā rā eru. Nō reira, I runga te aroha, te manaakitanga, te whanaungatanga, te ati awa, e tuku nei ngā mihi ana kia koutou. Tēnei wā, nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Tapai. Hauri e hui e tai. Tūtaua mai I ringa, tūtaua mai I raro, tūtaua mai I roto, tūtaua mai I waho. Kia tau wai te mauri tū, kia tau wai te mauri ora, a tūturu whakamaua kia tīna, tīna, haumie.